Why is this open to my?
Linda, I understand your part.
It's like, well, those are private businesses. Do whatever they want. That's where you want it. Like whereas, and everybody can decide what they want to do. See, but I'm like 3 or 4 seconds away. I know, but they're on. So whether you agree with it or not, there are no restrictions. You just don't go there.
Testing.
You know, and
I'm just saying, they're all
they are, but they can live.
see, but here,
Right.
I wonder if
Yeah, yeah. It's just the way it is. I bring my basketball and go straight to the side.
Good evening, everybody, and those watching at home in our gallery. Welcome to the June 2020 Manitowoc County Board of Supervisors monthly meeting. First up will be invocation by Supervisor Don Zimmer, followed by the pledge of allegiance to the flag. If everyone please rise.
I request you to join me in asking God to look with favor upon our county government, its elected and appointed officials, and its other employees. Of special note, and in special need of the blessings of God, are our beleaguered law enforcement officers throughout Manitowoc County, and indeed, throughout our state and nation. Our police officers and sheriff's deputies perform a vital service without which chaos, disorder, and crime would predominate. We see this happening now in our nation, wherever our law enforcement officers have been prevented shamefully and disgracefully by criminally irresponsible elected officials from performing their duties. At this moment, any law enforcement officer anywhere, including in Manitowoc County, places his or her life at risk every time he or she dons a police or sheriff's uniform. Law enforcement officers have been unjustly savaged and physically assaulted by those who seek their destruction and the destruction of our civilized society. Please join me in asking God to protect these selfless public servants from those who would do them harm. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated.
Thank you very much, Supervisor Zimmer. Roll call is going around. We have 23 members present this evening. Supervisor Nile and Hagan are excused. Next up will be consideration and correction of our minute, if any, of our May 19, 2020 County Board meeting. Motion by Supervisor Benke, second by Supervisor Henriksen to approve those minutes. Any discussion? See none, all in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Under reports of county supervisors, officers, and department directors, we have one proclamation from myself and County Executive Bob Zigabor. The proclamation proclaiming the month of June as Dairy Month in Manitowoc County. Unfortunately, Beth Gerke, who's coroner of the Meadowbrook Dairy in Mishkot and Dairy Princess coordinator, wasn't sure she could make it tonight, and Emma Voss, the current Dairy Princess, couldn't make it as well. But we are, like I said, I did purchase some ice cream because June is Dairy Month. We need ice cream for the county board. And as I mentioned to most of you, and those who are not are aware, but we're going to be fortunate that they will be able to join us in July, so we will have ice cream 2 months in a row. So there is good things going on. So I will read the proclamation quick. Whereas agriculture accounts for approximately 7,000 jobs in Manitowoc County and provides annual cash receipts of over $300 million annually, with over 75% attributed to the sale of milk. And whereas Manitowoc County Agriculture accounts for a combined total economic impact of over $2 billion per year, and whereas Manitowoc County ranks in the top 3 Wisconsin counties and in the top 1% of all counties in the United States in annual milk production. And whereas Manitowoc County's approximately 170 dairy farms and 55,000 dairy cows produced over 1.5 billion pounds of milk in 2018. And whereas Manitowoc County farms pay an average of $48.9 million in sales, property, and income tax each year. Now therefore, we, Bob Ziegelbauer, County Executive, and Jim Bright, County Board Chairperson, along with the County Board of Supervisors, hereby proclaim the month of June as June Dairy Month here in Manitowoc County. So, like I said, I hope that they should be able to join us in July, and maybe I'll read the proclamation again, or police present it to them, so we look forward to that. All right, that's the reports. Any questions? All right, I'll turn it over to public comment. If there's anybody from the public wishing to speak to any matter germane to the county government, please raise your hand. You'll be allowed approximately 3 minutes to speak. I don't see anybody wishing to speak, so I will declare public comment closed at this time. Communications are shown on the agenda. There is no unfinished business from our last meeting. So we'll go on to appointments by the county executive. First up will be for the Board of Adjustment to appoint 2 members to succeed Orville Bobby and James Knorr for a 2-year term expiring in July 2022. And the recommendation is for Dave Crystal and James Knorr. Motion by Supervisor Dizak, second by Supervisor Hanson. Discussion on the motion. See none, all in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Northeast Wisconsin Regional Economic Partnership to appoint 3 members to succeed Peter Wills, alternate April Kroner, and alternate Dan Politsky for a 1-year term expiring July of 2021. And the recommendation is for Adam Tagan with the alternates of Dan Politsky and Peter Wills. The motion is by Supervisor Williams, second by Supervisor Volk to approve those appointments. Any discussion? Supervisor Williams.
I had a question, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Could you just enlighten us a little bit about what these members do?
That is a good question. As the agenda came up, I noticed, well, as you know, being a former alderman, that April Kroner, who was the community development director for the city of Manitowoc, she left last September, so that's why I noticed that we got Adam. Well, as we are looking through minutes and stuff, they haven't met in a long time, if I understand correctly, right, Jessica? So yes, I guess, I don't know what they're actually charged with doing. I know there was a regional cooperation. We are looking into, I guess, getting a hold of them and find out more about what they've done, because Adam was curious too, because, you know, Adam, as you know, came from Wisconsin Rapids, and they had other similar areas like they're in the north central part of the state of Wisconsin, so yeah, we're looking at that.
If we could get a look at what their mission statement is, or what, something that.
Correct. I know it was a collaboration. I know it used to be more active when I first got on the county board, but then it was just generally like a once or twice a year thing too, so. All right? Thank you. Committee reports. We're gonna go to Aging and Disability Resource Center Board. It's all right. There we go.
ADRC, next meeting should be next month, July 28th in Wyatt County. I will be able to announce next month for sure if it's happening or not. And then the Land Conservation Committee, our last meeting was July 16th. I'm sorry, our next meeting for the Land Conservation is July 16th at 4:45 at the county office complex. The UWEEAC, or UW Extension, Education, and Agricultural Committee will be meeting this week, Thursday, June 18th, at the county office complex at 4:45. That's the end of my report.
Any questions for Supervisor Wagner on either of those 2 committees? All right, thank you very much. Board of Health, Supervisor Metzger, you are the chair.
We met June 11th. We had elections. I'm the current chair. Dave Nichols is the vice chair. Shirley Fessler is the secretary. We got the coronavirus update. Mary gave an overview on the coronavirus response in Manitowoc County. The incident command system was activated on March 11th. The overall goal is to provide a real-time COVID-19 disease investigation follow-up in order to minimize the spread and mortality rates while assuring the availability of hospital and provider resources. The incident commander, public information officer, planning, operations, logistics, and financial sections were all activated. Each section's role and responsibility was reviewed, and examples of activities were given. There will be a significant funding coming from the federal government for specific activities related to the COVID-19. Recent data was also reviewed, and plans for moving forward include updating pandemic plan to include COVID, developing a community testing plan, as well as continuing the contract tracing and follow-up with confirmed cases. The WIC report for April was 978 participants with 580 families. For May, it was 952 participants and 566 families. The contracted case load is 1,067. Our next meeting will be August 13th. That is the end of my report.
Any questions for Supervisor Metzger? Thank you very much. Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, tonight Supervisor Mink will be giving a report.
Thank you, sir. Real quick to go through this, we met June 3rd, 2020. It was a split meeting. Some of us were on Zoom, some of us were present. I was among the present. I apologize if I butcher some of these names, but Chair Rohrer called the meeting to order at 5:05 p.m. Asked for the approval of minutes of the March 4th meeting. No one had corrections. Attorney Ann Larson moved to approve, and Liz Zygmunt second motion. Motion passed. Jason, I'm going to butcher this again. Latva provided the report regarding drug court. Reviewed the participant statistics. Currently, 17, 5 in phase 1, 3 each in phases 2, 3, and 4. 4 in phase 4. 12 are male, 5 are female, 6 are working, 3 are attending classes. Program completion is averaging about 465 days. Noted that there have been more issues during the 2-month precautions than the entire program in the 3 years that it's been going. However, this is not all bad news because we have been able to operate via Zoom and remote mechanisms. So the services are still being provided, just not in person. So as we move on, numerous questions regarding people helped, and those were after assistance. There were still some failures. In total, 43 persons have participated. Judge Rohrer reported on the court response to the COVID-19 emergency and the process for resuming in-person hearings. There is a set of guidelines coming from the Supreme Court that local courts must follow to prepare local plans, which must then be approved. While able to do a lot of preliminary matters via Zoom, many fewer cases were resolved, and there will be an extended period of catching up. Additionally, return to court will be in phases. Desire to regain ability to conduct jury trials and have some level of pre-COVID productively related disposing of cases. The next council meeting is going to be September 2nd. Anticipate being able to meet in person. Stay alert for developments and notice. If Zoom is needed, you may want to all peer that way or devise a better means to do so. Either do it all Zoom or all in person. Executive committee will report 6:15 and monthly until the September meeting. Darlene Wellner asked the council take on reform sought following the death of George Floyd. Noted Virgil was happening at 6 p.m. Already transpired. Executive Zygmunt suggested the topic be placed on the next agenda. Motion to adjourn by Nicholas Meeting, second by Courtney Zygmunt. Approved. Thank you.
Any questions for Supervisor Mink? Thank you very much. Executive Committee, the only thing I'm going to have is, and it's going to be for the July County Board meeting. County Executive Bob Zygmunt asked me to give have him on the agenda to give a report on finances up to this time, and also to have Travis Walker, our Emergency Management Director, and Mary Holla, our Public Health Nurse, our Health Department Director, to speak as well. It's good because I was actually going to ask Bob if that would have been appropriate, so it'd be nice for them to give a report here to the county board and with the public as well. So look forward to that next month. Do you have any questions on that? All right. XY Board, Supervisor Banky, you will be giving the report tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just going to go through, we met the other night about the determining whether to have the 2020 Manitowoc County Fair, how that process was. And it definitely was a very difficult decision for that 21-person board to make. And some of the bullet points in making that determination, and we all know the social distancing and the recommendation from the health department recommending no large gatherings was one of the main concerns. But there were other things that were hurdles that we were not able to overcome in order to have our Manitowoc County Fair. Our ride provider, Rainbow Valley Rides, we've been in contact, Janelle was in contact with him for the last couple of months, and staffing is really a big issue with the ride provider moving from fair to fair and cancellations of fairs. He would only be able to bring probably about 10 out of the normal 21 rides that he would normally be able to come to our fair with. And also the requirement to sanitize the rides in between use would have been almost impossible. He didn't have the staff for that as well. So that was a hurdle that was part of the decision process. We had recommendations from one of the vendors in the variety tent that on a normal fair, they struggle with getting volunteers because most of those volunteers are in the at-risk population, like Supervisor Williams, the elderly. And so they recommended that we cancel as well. The Newton Snow Sports, the Rock Pavilion, they lost two of their bands. One disbanded, disassembled, and the other one just canceled. So they lost 2 nights of their entertainment as well. So they really were in trouble. Our ticket takers, we have 2 different ticket takers groups, the Lions Club and the New Rotary. And one of those organizations also said that they would have a difficult time in staffing ticket taking for our fair as well. Judges. Janelle did a survey with our judges that come judge the exhibits for 4-H and open class. They also said that they were not interested in coming to the fair and doing judging at our fair. So that would have been another hurdle that we would have had to have gotten over. The financial impact. Normally we take in about 40, somewhere on a good, without that dirty word rain, mid-40s, low 40s in attendance. We would have to take in about 30,000 attendees in order just to break even. So with all of those hurdles that I just explained, were all key factors in making that decision into not having a fair. So people may ask, well, there's free barbecues and there's mass gatherings all over the place in bars and restaurants and all these other places, but it wasn't just social distancing was our problem in mass gatherings. It was all these other hurdles that we just were not able to get over in order to have a quality fair. So when people ask, why did you close the fair? Those were the key factors in deciding why we did not have a fair this year. It's a very difficult decision. Those people that are on the fair board, they live and breathe for the fair. They did not want to cancel, but they felt that they needed to. So it was a very difficult decision for them to make. I give them a lot of credit for making that decision, the right decision. And we look forward to the 2021 Manitowoc County Fair. So we'll move into the Highway Committee. The Highway Committee met on June 9th. We met out the Highway Department last week. We covered things, driveway access and on Highway X. We talked about an airport piece out at the airport. We were at the Highway Committee meeting. We do a lot of things with the airport. We got the bids for finishing the lighting project out at the airport. We went over the highway airport reopening policy. We went over that Mark wants to make sure that the policy that we use for the airport is the same policy that we use for the highway department. So Mark explained that policy as well. Another challenge that we're going to be facing down the line that Mark is trying to get his hands around is the Rapids Road project, basically from Waldo north to Peter.
Yep.
So that stretch of road we did about 19 years ago it was kind of an experiment concrete project. We did some course, that road is kind of falling apart, and Mark showed us some updated pictures on that road. That is going to be a challenge, not only physically, but trying to get the job done. And how we do that, we took core samples, marked the core samples. There's a difference between some places are 3 inches and some places are up to 14 inches. So there's a lot of disparity or differential in depth of concrete there now. And so that is going to be an expensive challenge financially on that end. So we're looking to use SDP funding in probably the 2024 cycle, somewhere in that range, and we're gonna try to fit that into that cycle. So Mark is doing a good job. He had some people come up from Iowa, some professional organizations that analyze concrete, and they came up and looked at it and gave their recommendations on how the project could be done. And so he's really doing a nice job of getting his hands around that project. But that will be a challenge coming forward in the next couple of years. So we talked about budget, overtime, and approved vouchers. Our next meeting is July 14th at 4 p.m. at the highway shop. That concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Any questions for Supervisor Benke on Expo Ice Center and or Highway? We'll start with Supervisor Williams.
Thank you, sir. Kevin, is any thought being given, no, it's not in the first state, but that road would really be a unique corridor in the city. When you think about it, it connects with our, that rather than just cover it up with putting lighting or something, you think thoughts like that possible?
Well, we are, in order to do this project, we are going to have to coordinate with the city of Manitowoc as well, because anything outside the 30 feet, the city has to cover. And so there is going to be some collaboration with the city on that project, knowing that the project is probably out 3 to 4 years. We're hoping to have that coordination with the city of Manitowoc. Ultimately, we'd like to do like we did with the Rapids Bridge project and everything else, finish that project and then give it over to the city and let the city take care of that whole corridor on their launch.
I guess to add to that, Supervisor Benke and Supervisor Williams too, and I think Supervisor Benke was copied on email at the Highway Committee meeting on which I was president. There was a discussion that representatives from the city of Manitowoc never really got back on this project. I did talk with Dan Koski and Greg Minico from the Public Works Department and city engineer and director of public infrastructure for the city of Manitowoc. And they did contact Mark, and so the city's on board with that portion of the I guess the thing, and see where we go from there. According to Greg Minico, there's not much the city really has to do right now, obviously regarding sewer and gutter and things like that, but things could change. But it's good to see there'll be a coordination of working together, so. Thank you very much for your question. Any other questions or comments for Supervisor Benke on Highway or Expo? All right, thank you very much. Finance Committee, Supervisor Hanson is the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before I give my committee report, I would like to thank Supervisor Benke for the explanation for the fair. Sometimes on social media, when something is canceled, people just get trashed. But your explanation tonight, I wish people would understand that, because the dedication those people put into that fair, I think you made the right choice. It was good to have that litany tonight of everything we went through. Hopefully people get that and understand that how tough that decision was. Finance met tonight. Appreciate the Finance Committee meeting tonight rather than the second Monday of the month, but our auditors haven't finished a report, so there was no need to meet. We had a short meeting before this meeting. Sold 2 pieces of property out on A Street, so people can start building houses. Got rid of those 2 pieces of property, and we denied a claim. And just to explain the claim a little bit, that's on the agenda tonight. It's a resolution denying the claim for Brian Miller. We took possession of a piece of property. There was a old Mustang parked on that piece of property. It took us a little bit of time to identify who owned the car. We went through that process of finding the owner and communicated with him for a period of months that car needed to be moved, because we now were taking possession of that property. The car was not moved. Situation was not cleared up, so the sheriff's department auctioned that car off, and he, is now looking for money for that vehicle, to be replaced. He lived in California, but he had 4 months to make arrangements to do this, 3 or 4 months to do it. So we gave him an opportunity, did not do it, went into a sheriff's auction, and the car is now sold. So he was looking for funding for that. Our insurance people said, no, he should not get it. We took that recommendation from them, and I would look for your support to support us in denying that claim. So I will make that motion.
A motion by Supervisor Hanson, second by Supervisor Williams to adopt the resolution which in a sense denies the claim. Any discussion on the motion? Supervisor Giroux?
What was the value of the car?
It was not the 23,000 that he claimed. Car needed work, and I'm not sure what the sheriff's auction got for the car.
Yeah, I don't actually know what the sheriff's auction was either, but it certainly was not the $20-some odd thousand that Mr. Miller was seeking. It was significantly.
Thank you, Supervisor Giroux. Any other discussion on the motion? See none, all in favor of the motion, well, I guess the clerk will now conduct the vote. I can read. So it's where's the recommendation? Okay, resolution number 2020-21-4, resolution denying claim for Brian Miller. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried unanimously. I get used to doing that, I'm sorry, I apologize. Thank you, Jessica. Anything else, Supervisor Hanson?
We meet the second Monday of the month, usually around 4:30. We Zoomed once, depending how things happen in the next month. We may meet in person or Zoom again, and it also depends on the report from our financial people when that gets done. Otherwise, we may meet again before the county board if we have a light agenda. Because there's no point in wasting time. If you don't have to meet at a convenient time. That's it, Mr. Chair.
Any questions for Supervisor Hanson? Thank you very much. We'll jump to Human Services Board. Supervisor Henriksen is the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Manitowoc County Human Services Department met at 4:55 on Wednesday, May 27th, in open session in Manitowoc County Office Complex Room. The meeting was also accessible by Zoom. We had election of officers. I was nominated chairman. Mr. Bowman was nominated as our vice chairman. And Lori Burke was again nominated as our secretary. We had introduced our new member, Bonnie Shimalonis. Education topic was current transportation plans for returning to in-person services. Part of every day involves working with COVID items. We work every day to get equipment and supplies and to get our prospective services and crisis workers classified as frontline workers to obtain better masks, but have not yet been approved. We have set up Zoom meetings, have loaner laptops and cell phone for workers, and have been limiting the number of people in the building except for injections. Changes in the economic support programs due to 719 include if a person is eligible for food share, they will receive the maximum benefit and health care will continue until COVID ends. The number of cases has increased, but the state eliminated some of the verifications and pushed out reviews to make it a little easier. Half the staff is working from home and is going well. Face-to-face foster home visits have not been taking place for the last 2 months, but will again begin on June 1st. We will be allowing 2 hours between each visit for workers to sanitize the room. Staff members are working on a third site outdoor for visit. In looking at the financial status sheet, foster home placements have been steady for the last 3 months. CPS numbers have been down the last few months, since about 70% of calls generally came from the school staff, and having worried about what is not being reported. In the last week or two, That is changing and referrals are coming in. Staffing update. On May 18th, we had 3 new CPS workers and a CCS psychotherapist start. There's currently 1 opening in the economic support division. Avatar system, all clinical staff are currently using Avatar. The children's units are in test mode. The IS staff have been very helpful working with all units. Our next regular meeting of the Human Services Department Board will be held on Thursday, June 25th, 2020 at 4 p.m. There's a new time change. The meeting will be held in the 8th Street building at 801 J Street. That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman.
Any questions for Supervisor Henriksen? All right, thank you very much. Personnel Committee, Supervisor Marish is the chair.
Thank you. We met on June 2nd. Election of officers, Supervisor Bowman was elected. Vice Chair and Supervisor Metzer, Secretary. Discussion and action was regarding payment of stipend to certain health department and emergency management staff. In recognition of the excessive hours worked by certain staff members of the health department and emergency services department, the following proposal was approved. Payment of a weekly stipend of $250, effective with the week of March 15th. This stipend will continue as long as the workload justifies the payment of the stipend. We can apply for reimbursement of the stipend through CARES funding. Personnel eligible for the stipend include the public health nurses, nurse manager, health officer, emergency services director, and the deputy emergency services director. Our next meeting will be August 4th. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Marish. Planning and Park Commission, Supervisor Dizak is the chair.
Land conservation, was there not?
Yep, Supervisor Wagner gave that when she did a double report, correct?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We did not meet in May. There's no report. Our next meeting is June 22nd, the county office complex, 3:30 advisory meeting, and 4 o'clock for the regular.
Any questions for Supervisor Dizak? Thank you very much. Public Safety Committee, Supervisor Nichols is the chair.
Thank you. And it looks like Supervisor Williams got that much needed haircut, so I think we're all looking better as a result. Okay, the Public Safety Committee met on Wednesday, June 10th. We elected our officers and set up our future meeting dates. We then heard a report from Sheriff Hartwig. He gave us a staffing report. The patrol is fully staffed. He doesn't anticipate too many retirements coming up. There's 3 openings in corrections and 1 kitchen opening. There have been some changes made to the jail to protect the staff and the inmates, of course, due to the COVID-19 emergency. And there have been some savings as a result of the restrictions that took place, but there's also probably going to be a reduction in revenues. They have allowed the officers the choice of wearing their current uniforms or a new modern casual day-to-day uniform. It looks pretty good, but the sheriff still likes the old uniform he has. I shouldn't say old, because he's not that old, but he likes the one that he currently has, so he's going to stick with that. But apparently, a lot of the officers like the new ones, and it is optional. A number of changes have been made to the operations, and he took some questions from the supervisors. He also gave us an update on what he'll be looking at for the 2021 budget, including perhaps a request to increase the staff. They've had a lot of, as you know, the last couple of years, there have been a lot of drug cases that have gone around, and that continues to be a real issue, and it's a real hardship on some of the staff. We then left the health department and ran as quickly as we could over to the jail since it started pouring on us as we got out the door. We took the annual jail inspection. Both Sheriff Hardwick and the staff were very responsive to the questions that we had. The jail appears to be in excellent condition. So there were a lot of positive marks on that report. And looking around, it looks as though all of the committee members were released from the jail, so we're good with that. Otherwise, our next meeting tentatively is scheduled for Wednesday, July 8th, and we will meet at the health department. Thank you.
Any questions for Supervisor Nichols? We'll start with Supervisor Williams.
I was just thinking, you know, I do that quite often. Supervisor Nichols talking about my hair is akin to my talking about Supervisor Hanson's weight problem.
All right, thank you, Supervisor Williams.
Maybe we could have that jail tour again, maybe, and leave some there.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Supervisor Nichols. And I'm glad everybody's in a semi like good mood too. We need this type of stuff. Good. I'm glad everybody can handle the jokes. All right, next up, Public Works Committee, Supervisor Supervisor Giroll is the chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Public Works Committee met June 10th following the Expo Ice Center Board to act on their recommendation. Supervisor Zimmer made the motion and Supervisor Linsmeyer seconded it. So I think if there's any blame to be placed on the closure of the fair, these two individuals should probably be held to account. The motion carried unanimously and the 2020 Manitowoc County Fair was canceled, sadly, and that concludes my report. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any questions for Supervisor Giroll? As Supervisor Benke mentioned during the expo portion, and Supervisor Giroll as well, it was a very difficult decision. And I was there, and you definitely see from everybody involved, including at this board level, and all the hard work and the volunteers that exists for the fair. Maybe it's too strong, but it is a way of life. And I've known Supervisor Benke his entire life on the board here with the expo. They've done a spectacular job with it. I've helped out, and I guess now I don't get the embarrassment of the cream puff eating contest here, but I guess people can live without that one. But it is a shame, but it's reality, and we'll move forward next year, and hopefully it'll come back even stronger. All right, Transportation Coordinating Committee, Supervisor Baumann is the chair.
No report, Mr. Chairman. We meet next Wednesday at the Heritage Center, 11 o'clock in the morning. Thank you.
Sounds good. Any questions, Supervisor Baumann? All right, I know Supervisor Engelbrecht, you had an announcement, correct, if you don't mind?
Yes. Many of you know that I'm on the town board in the town district, so I'm also the Manitowoc County Union Chairman for our town association, and we haven't had a county union meeting since March. We're preparing one now for July 16th, trying to figure out where we can hold it, that we can space all enough, but I want to make an invitation to all the county board supervisors to come and visit our meeting, learn about town government and the like, and we usually bring in some speakers, and our legislators are there, so it's quite an informative evening. So if you want to make a mark, Thursday, July 16th, and maybe I can send out an email on the county email after a while when we confirm up the place and time. So try to make it. I think it'll be an informative evening for you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor Engelbrecht. Any other quick announcements? Supervisor Giroll.
Just an FYI, I watched the Manitowoc City Council meeting last night, and the 90 acres that used to be Manitowoc County out on Hector Road are now City of Manitowoc.
Yes, we did the official annexation last night. I'm assuming the mayor won't veto that, so it will be annexed to the City of Manitowoc now. So thank you for that input. There's nothing else, just quickly, I guess we'll play it by ear. I'm not going to deny it. Jerry and Janelle and everybody here at Expo have been a wonderful host and stuff. I'd still like to get back to our normal place, so I guess we'll play it by ear for next month again, but I guess if nothing really changed, we'll be here. Like I said, it's not the end of the world, it's nice to be home as well. But Thank you, Jerry, and Janelle, if you're watching, I think you're at a meeting here right now, and other staff, you've done an excellent job keeping us, I guess, safe and conducting meetings, so we appreciate that very much. With that, and a motion to adjourn will be in order. Motion by Supervisor Giroux, second by Supervisor Bowman. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody. Have a safe trip home, and if there's ice cream left, if you didn't get any, feel free to grab some. I need some in the freezer right now. Thank you very much.
Yes.